we start with the panel of today. Will be managed first of all with Hugo Metz. He is a filmmaker, but today is with us in the name of Not Us, Then Who is a non-for-profit, an NGO that works working about the consequences of the climate change, and the headquarters is in LA, I think, in the United States, but he's in Strasbourg, and he mixed both ideas to fight against the climate change from the NGO and working in filmmaking and films. They are trying to create conscience on the people, on the young people, about these problems. And then Hugo, you have the word. He's going to explain us a little bit. He's going to introduce us a short video that he prepared for introduce the roundtable. And Hugo, welcome. Thank you so much in the name of Council of Europe and the Rey Juan Carlos University and your time.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for joining today. I'd like, of course, to thank, first of all, the World Forum for Democracy and the University Rey Juan Carlos for putting that event together with the Council of Europe. And I do think it's a very important question. And well, I guess you already kind of know my answer to that question, but can democracy save the environment? That's the topic of today. And I do think that democracy can save the environment, and it should, may I say. Just to give you a short context to the video we have created for the event, because as Javier said, we are storytellers, we are filmmakers, and we try to make impact films. But what is the situation right now? So a report released last year shows that the world's 50 biggest banks provided $2.6 trillion to sectors with a high impact on biodiversity, such as forestry and agriculture. And bank by bank, the report found a vast ignorance of, or at least indifference to the implications of those investments, meaning the vast majority of the bankers, of the investors, were unaware of their impact on biodiversity. And that's where the people comes. That's where we can shift things. In short, this report was showing a frightening statement, and that statement is a statu quo. What is the statu quo? It's like right now on this earth, we are in the era of man. It's called Anthropocene. And I guess democracy and peoples, and I like to think that democracy, peoples, especially young people, have a role to play to shift that, because our biodiversity is declining at an unprecedented rate. The pressure driving that decline are intensifying. The average extinction rate is 100 to 1,000 times higher with humankind on Earth than it was before. 75% of the ecosystems are severely altered by human activities. That means the world is not balanced. That means the economic growth is not sustainable, and that we need to find a new deal between man and nature, and a new deal between humans and non-humans. And I guess democracy has a really huge role to play into it, because peoples have a really huge role to play. And I think that's only by coming together, every people of the world. So I know it sounds very optimistic, it sounds a bit like John Lennon, but I guess it's the only solution. And specifically with If Not Us Then Who, we are working with indigenous peoples and local communities who holds 80% of the world biodiversity on their land. And we help them to tell their own stories, to decolonize the media, and to bring the solutions they have to reconnect man and nature, because they have been living that way for ages, and we have us, modern societies, very much to learn from them. And they want to cooperate with us, because they know that's the only way for us to go forward in the future, and not just to save planet Earth, but to save the human species. So I'm going to be short, sorry, I was just a bit long. I just want to introduce very shortly the film we made. There is a very important movement in the youth, in the world youth right now, Friday for Future. It was kickstarted by Greta, but there are many Gretas in the world right now, not just in European universities, but in local communities, rural communities, developing countries. Youth is really thinking about changing the world, because they're just not okay with things as usual, with business as usual, with how it's direction it's taking, and they want to shift that direction. And I think we got to learn from them. So I guess the video is trying in very short, it's a 1 minute, 90 seconds teaser, but it's trying to show some hope. And that's what we try to do with our campaign. If you want to know more about us, just go on our website, www.ifnotoutandknew.me. On the page of the event, you will have the details of our social media. Please join us, and I hope you will enjoy the video. And if you have any questions, I'm at your disposal after the video for the next 15 minutes. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
My name is Greta Thunberg. I am 16 years old. I come from Sweden, and I want you to panic.
We're taken to the streets to fight for our futures and for those who are suffering from the consequences of climate change.
Climate change is already affecting millions of lives. I don't understand why there are world leaders that are not doing anything.
Know if the other speakers of the roundtable has any question about these 3 or 4 great ideas that are on the video, but I have a fast and short question to Hugo. I know that we know about the fires because in Spain we have a lot of fires every summer, but I heard from you many times that there are a huge difference between the fires on the biodiversity forests, by example, that a fire is always sad, of course, in a Spanish mountain probably, no? But why the biodiversity specific places in the world, this forest in Central America, this forest in the Borneo Island, or this forest in Congo are so much important for the future of the humanity, Hugo?
So I'm not an expert in biodiversity, but what we know from science and what we want also the audience, the public to know is so there is a lot of carbon stored in those forests, and the more ancient they are, the more carbon there is. And destroying a tree that is 10 years old and destroying a tree that is 150 years old, it's not the same. It doesn't have the same impact as well on the whole ecosystem and all the scale coming down that big tree, that old tree. So it's even more important to protect those ecosystems than it is to protect ours. But the danger is everywhere. I mean, there is studies showing as well that the forests we have in Europe, France, for instance, is a very forested country. There is a lot of forest everywhere, but they don't play their role anymore because there is too much pressure on them. And even those forests that forest cover in our European country, I mean, the balance between the carbon, the balance now is negative. So they are not like sustainable enough to compensate any carbon. So yes, we are 4, let's say, big sinks of carbons in the world, and those are forests in Indonesia, forests in Congo, in Central America, and the Amazon, and that's it. We don't have much more, and we need to protect them because it's like I don't know how you say that, but yeah, if they go, it's like a tipping point. If they go down, the system goes down. So again, I'm not really a specialist, but it's really key in those territories to be able to protect those forests, and also because they are the more endangered. Because in other countries or in other parts of the world, maybe it's able to protect it, but in those countries, protection is more complicated. The development is more aggressive. You get to see the cases of palm oil in Indonesia and what it leads in terms of land conflicts on land rights conflicts. That's the same in Congo. 90% of the forestry industry in Congo creates illegal wood, and that wood is bought directly in Europe and whatever shops you could have in France or Spain buying furnitures. And I'm not even quoting the Amazon and Brazil, and everyone knows that the fires that are the fire there, they are human-made, and they are made to create pastures for the agro-industry to be able to keep growing, and that has been backed up by the government. And we come back to democracy again, how democracy can impact those stories of the front lines. And that's kind of the same story in different ways in Central America. But yeah, if those forests goes down, I mean, the system collapses anyway. So yeah, I don't know if it answers the question, but I hope it does.
Yes. We have 2, 3, 4 minutes with Hugo. Anyone has any another comment for him, or we can. The other speakers has any question about anything, any idea that you saw on the video? Andres and Sivani will put
just wanted to say that the video was really great. It's a pity we couldn't watch it properly, but I recommend everyone to watch it as soon as they can, because it's really moving and it's really well made, and it really shares that message. I really liked it.
Yeah, we will share after the webinar all the media and all the social media for If Not Us Then Who, and everybody will be able to watch it again.
Pues Hugo, thank you so much for your time with us, and I know that you have many things to do. We go on with the roundtable and see you soon. And then we go on with the roundtable, and now is Sarah Omaima from Acampa who is going to. Is with us, Sarah, or didn't come? Yes, okay, yeah, perfect.
Hi.
Yes, hello, how are you? And then thank you so much for coming with us, Sarah, and you can explain a little bit what is Acampa you want, and please, you have your 10 minutes. Tell us.
So, hi everyone, I'm here representing Acampa of Madrid, and to know Acampa, it's a non-profit citizen initiative composed of social, cultural, and educational neighborhood, and a political trade union born by students with solidarity, institutions, and companies with social responsibilities. Although Acampa was born in A Coruña in 2019, and it arrived to Madrid with a team of young students of Universidad of Rey Juan Carlos, and one of our values are based on raising human rights awareness and the sensibilization of immigrants, refugees, and international human law. So today I'm gonna make a little introduction of based on the time I have. And as we all know, the factors to do of study of climate, migration, political, economic, social, it's environmental and demographic. So, however, age for this situation is an important factor. Focusing on the young migrant community, it's a key point for a cooperation plan. This is not only the case of with the refugees or immigrants from climate change. It's a fact that this also happens in other types of migration. Young people are more likely to look for new opportunities. So, new opportunities outside their comfort zone. No matter what risk they take, they always are the ones who are in the front line. So, and we young people, who have had opportunities must think about policies and regulations, regulatory changes, so that together with our colleagues we can build and more developed and brighter just social community. And about what are the obstacles faced by young migrants from climate change, they are really several, and we must keep in mind that being active young is in a search of employment totally reduces opportunity in the face of more experienced than adult population. They are facing something they are not prepared for, and they are not have any opportunities to. So this leaves them in a limbo. There's no active employment for them. There's no more efficient education programs for them, and they are obligated to emigrate because of the climate change. No changes, no looking for the future. So the journey of the displaced is worrying also. We have to know that they are vulnerable to human trafficking and trafficking in several for women. More other trafficking risks that they can face or during their trajectory. So we may also encounter climate risk such as areas affected by toxic products, like we also know in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indian urban communities, that they all face, they suffer from the toxic products of a result of rubbish being deposited in those urban areas. This influences very much in their health and development in childhood, and can therefore cause serious illness. We have minimum to provide a secure trajectory, so when they decide to go, they can go without fearing any risk of trafficking, as I said, or any kind of those things. So on the other hand, at this point, we know that the migrating is not easy. There are bureaucratic obstacles both to change residence and to seek asylum. As we know, it's not easy. Lately years are more and more difficult, and moreover, national policies to promote changes that are in favor of the environment are almost ambiguous. They are doing the bare minimum, and that also are obstacle for the young people, because they can't even think of demanding new policies to change this climate, to make a change on the environment change. So they're time consuming, or you have to have a big influence to make it work. So that's why these young people, even doing activism, encounter obstacles. Keep in mind that much of the community we are talking about belongs to developing countries. It's not the case of many developed countries. It's the case of the countries are in developing ways. So the environment has always been a factor in migration. Indeed, the face of natural disaster or health or destroying any environment, people are fleeing in search of other opportunities. And as we said, this is the case of youth community. So climate change is expected to excavate sudden and slow-moving disaster and the gradual degradation of the environment. With this impact, climate change is already affecting migration and migration. And around the world, also we have national plans of program of adaptation. So nowadays, the principal mechanisms through which low-income developing countries identify adaptation and needs programs. Personally, I believe that the investment to be made now would reward the outcome in the long run, because as an example, we can see we have the first climate change refugees in the United States, and I say United States because are the most known country to make an idea of this risk. in which more than 47 families have had to move and recollect them in other residents, and the government has to do this labor. So, and as we know, there's an IOM organization of climate change migration. It's applying its comprehensive migration management strategies to the links between migration, climate changes, and the environment. And this can sustainable development is an integral part of their adaptive strategies and the form of disaster risk reduction and adaptation to climate change. IOMS is helping to reduce the vulnerability of population at risk, assisting the displaced population as a result of those disaster and environmental changes. But as I said, it's normally a low income invest. So we should to look after this more often. And as a CAMPA, we want to do recommendations about this topic, like it's a project, international cooperation for migration, is to make it more collaboration and more effective cooperation. And I think supporting migrants just for climate change, it's one of the ideas we propose from a campus to have a support program for young migration. Young migration is often the engine of maintaining families and those who dare more to change the places of residence. So in addition, a plan to invest in their education of these young people, maybe an education abroad or simply in a safe area with decent formation education, can be efficient and effective in the short-term future, because maybe it sounds an utopical thing, but as these young people can come with training and policies to combat climate changes in their home country. This can be done with maybe a scholarship program, or it does have to be really good study to make it effective. So as I said, it sounds utopian, but our studied program is infrequent to fail. And also inviting young people and other climate change affected groups that are vulnerable to participate will give us a real policies, because they are taking part of what they are victims of. So this is all I can say for now. So, and maybe we from Acampa, we invite you to propose any activity or any program plan to take it over and to make it effective, even if it is in our home country. But maybe we can do something, and that's all. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you so much, Sara, for staying with us, and for sure in the debate you will have the option to talk about more topics. Secondly, Juncal Ferreira is coming in the name of Fomento of the Estudios Internacionales. Thank you so much, Juncal, for staying with us, and please, your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me to discuss with you, especially you, Javier. It's a pleasure. We've decided to focus our position on climate migrations and the consequence obtained after the study of the topic. First of all, we'd like to say that demographic movements induced by environmental reasons do not set a new phenomenon, but rather the scale and limelight they have achieved in recent times. That's due to a deeper frequency and intensity of environmental impact and the number maybe of people affected. Environmental migration isn't also a simple issue, as you know, but one of the most complex, extended challenges that covers multiple areas in spite of its global framework. It's noted that its main cause is climate change, and it doesn't take national borders into account. Also, developing countries are the ones who suffer the most from its consequences, even though they are the ones with the least responsibility, and therefore the most helpless sectors of the population with lack of the necessary resources to predict the possible environmental impacts. As we've seen, despite the fact that the climate variability or changes in the environment will be the common factor. The multitude of variations in environmental migration allow us to speak, first of all, of a voluntary or willful movement, that it will be able to be better planned and respond to an adaptation strategy. And second one, a forced movement, starving the majority, unfortunately, and which is much as the last escape route, defined by a greater disorder and lack of planning due to the risk in every quick action. Meanwhile, with regard to whether climate impacts and have enough weight a significant migration factor, or whether their impact and in other areas mainly leads to the actual migration, we must wrap up talking about a variety of factors and their capacity to influence the other agents that induce population movements. Thus, there will be occasions when the environmental factor is considered as the main cause of the migratory decision, being able to establish a direct relationship between migration and climate change, or the rising environmental degradation. However, there will also be assumptions where a set of economic, social, environmental factors will converge to the migration phenomenon or option as the only option for surviving. Exactly, positioning climate change as one more factor, but not necessarily the most influential one. Finally, among proposals for solutions, the expansion or redefining of the Geneva Convention. As you know, the term or the concept of refugee has been taken into consideration to include cross-border migrant. For environmental reasons, the term was established, I repeat, as you know, in 1951, and it answered to a different reality from the current one, focused on the targeted persecution, but not the one caused by climate change. This solution might be the quickest, since it doesn't require the creation of a normative instrument, but the adaptation of an existing one is really important. However, it isn't so easy because the multiple parts, including the idea of refuge, for example. In addition, the reluctance of states that believe this, for example, would devalue the current protection of refugees, fearing and quoting that the environmental issue competes with migrants seeking asylum or refuge for political reasons. On the other hand, and first of all, the international normative framework contains instruments that regulate international cross-border population movements, including refuge, as they do not cover environmental migrants. Climate migration faces a legal loophole of lack of protection in international law. This normative gap is due to the fact that these new realities were not taken into consideration at the time, given their lesser prominence. Furthermore, an added challenge on this migratory typology is the debate about its definition, since the normative challenge cannot be adequately addressed without first addressing the terminological one. The absence of such consensus makes it difficult to find solutions, since a problem cannot be addressed unless it, first of all, is well defined, and second one, agreed upon. Collaterally, in order to subdue this legal gap, the workability of the normative framework of human rights is assessed, given the multiple rights that might be violated in the context of environmental migration for us, as well as the legal framework on statelessness for persons, for example, from island nations that may disappear. As it applies to everyone, quoting to everyone, the human rights framework would make it possible to overcome the defining obstacle in refugee law, since it would cover both cross-border population movements and internal displacement too. However, this solution, we think that is still a poor protective system, and in a way complementary, since it doesn't deal with the main problem. We also recognize that international environmental law can provide attendant schemes, really interesting schemes that might be useful when they try to address the issue, but not being the strong solution. These are a set of regulations, I repeat, that can contribute to this solution, but aren't enough to provide a suitable answer. This issue can be reflected in the current ecological crisis, for example. Therefore, one of the proposals that has more impact on the philosophy is a new legal tool. For us, it's really important that a new legal tool that solves the issue of environmental migration, the difficulty to achieve general agreement and the international context, and due to the environmental majority, movements taking place between neighboring countries. Every possible solution leans on regional cooperation. Then, what's more, legal credit and the consideration of environmental migration as a key issue and not a secondary one, close to traditional migration, are really important, just as much as taking action on the starting point of their causes, for example, with a stronger fight against climate change. That's why, finally, we think that better prepared communities, normally with more resources, will be able to deal more effectively with the negative consequence of climate change. Therefore, the importance of education should not be ignored also, with emphasis on the worsening of ecosystem conditions, mainly due to the human footprint, and training young people to improve their responsiveness, planning, and resilience, for example. Furthermore, talking about relocation, the concept of relocations group should be taken into account, also relying on sensitive decisions, very important, to the cultural borders and identities of both mobile populations and host communities, and aiming to balance, as I said, to balance and reducing the ethnic conflicts and tensions, taking care the traditions and the population's livelihoods. And that will be all. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you, Juncal. And I am so happy that now with Sevani go on with the same students from the Rey Juan Carlos talking in this event that is in the Council of Europe. I am so proud and so happy that a number of students from our university are talking in English and speaking in English and giving in English their opinions about what they are doing right now after they finish or almost finish the university. And now Sivani Lopez is going to talk. As you know, Sivani has been organizing the event, and thank you again for all of this work, And now you have the word as speaker on the round table. Sivani, please, your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah and Juncal, for your interventions, and thank you, Javier, for this introduction and offering me the chance to interview. And thank you, everyone, for being here. So my intervention is going to be like a little bit as Juncal's one, but I will be a little bit focusing on youth, even though, as we will see, there's no special recognition of focusing on youth, but I will try to do my best. So, as I was saying, my intervention is going to be an overview of the current situation of international policies for environmental migrants, focusing on adolescents and youth migrants. So, as it was stated in yesterday's debate, forced climate migrants or refugees fall through the cracks or loopholes, as Juncal said, of international refugee and immigration policy. So there is an ongoing debate about whether it's refugee or migrant because of the complexity of the issue. Anyhow, according to the International Organization for Migration and its working definition of environmental migration, I will quote, environmental migrants are persons or groups of persons who for reasons of sudden or progressive changes in the environment that adversely affect their lives or living conditions are obligated to leave their habitual homes or choose to do so, and who move either within that territory or abroad. So either way, even if it's refugee or migrant, which is not the case of my intervention, it is a real situation with a real life displaced population. So I would like to ask which or what policies do they fall under? So migration laws are defined by destination countries, and most of them do not include receiving environmental migrants. Part of employment-based admissions and humanitarian admissions are regionally limited to refugees and asylum seekers, those who fit into the definition of the UN Convention relating to the status of refugee. But most environmental migrants, as we know, do not meet these legal definitions. Some countries have special policies that permit people whose countries have experienced natural disasters stay without deportation. And other countries, such as Sweden and Finland, include environmental migrants within immigration policies where decisions are made on an individual basis, case by case. There are countries who offer exceptions for those whose countries have experienced significant natural disasters, such as the case of the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, as everyone remembers. However, as the Global Migration Group states, no legislation or policy addresses the migration of persons from slow onset climate changes that may in the future destroy habitats. These movements are treated in the same manner as general economical migration, which fails to protect this vulnerable and different group. So, appropriate immigration policies for climate change-induced migration have particular relevance for adolescents and youth because of several reasons, and some of them are the ones that Sarah said. So, first of all, empirical studies generally conclude that the impacts of climate and environmental change will be important determinants of migratory behavior and have the potential to permanently alter current migration streams. Also, adolescents and youth tend to be among the most mobile populations, therefore are more exposed to a higher vulnerability to trafficking. And experiences in refugee and displaced persons camps with limited access to education, training, or employment opportunities may lead to no future, no economic advance, therefore falling into, quote, an angry young men road with no productive path, normally followed with violence and substance abuse. So these are some of the few reasons why it is essential to promote and implement policies towards the protection of young migrants. And according to the International Organization for Migration, climate change-induced displacement affects young people's life, as Juncal and Sara said, either challenging them or increasing their opportunities. Either way, the rights and protections of young migration require attention. So, recently, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees recognized that the consequences of climate change are extremely serious, including for refugees and other people of concerns. Moreover, in the UN General Assembly in December 2018, the Global Compact on Refugee affirmed that climate, environmental degradation, and natural disasters increasingly interact with the drivers of refugee movements. So, currently, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees is working on climate change and disaster displacements by giving legal advice and guidance to develop these important norms and needed norms to support the protection of this group, promoting policy coherence, researching, and other field-based activities. However, as I said, the previous mentioned policies do not target younger generations. In 2014, the Global Migration Group, which was substituted in 2018 by the UN Network on Migration, published a book called Migration and Youth, Challenges and Opportunities, with some policy recommendations towards young migrants. I will state some of them. Improve knowledge about adolescent and youth migrations and its linkages to environmental change by gathering data. Ensure that young people have the means to address the challenges posed by environmental change, such as information, education, resources, networks, and more, and access to different opportunities with them. And incorporate adolescent and youth-related issues into a comprehensive migration management agenda that takes environmental change into account. Facilitate young migration, arranging student schemes and temporary and circular labor migration programs to support young people affected by these environmental degradation, natural disasters. Help youth migrate in safety and dignity. This one is very important, and I really support it. So when migration is the best or only adaptation strategy, effective policy responses can help to ensure that the movement are orderly and safe. And participatory, one of the next that I also support really, I think it's really relevant, participatory policy planning. So involve affected communities in policy planning and implementation of human mobility solutions, recognizing that youth can be effective partners in addressing climate change-induced migration and ensure their involvement in consultation about their future. So, I would like to finish my intervention remarking that these young migrants or refugees are vulnerable, but even more when their migration is climate change induced, because they don't have a home to go back to. Neither they have a home in their destination. So thank you everyone for listening to me, and I'm looking forward for our debate and our last speaker, Nerea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sivani. And yes, I am really waiting for the debate. I am sure that all of you have great ideas, and I want to ask something later, and for sure the audience. Nerea Perez from Equipo Europa, thank you so much to be with us, and please it's your time.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I think so. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, and I must say that I have learned a lot from the previous speakers myself. It's been very motivating, very insightful. Yeah, I'm so thankful for you for inviting me here. And I would like to start my contribution by explaining you who I am or who I representing, which is Equipo Europa. It's a European youth association. It's not linked to any political party. It's totally independent, and we collaborate very tight and very closely with the European Parliament. Equipo Europa was established in 2019 after the I'm Voting campaign, which was launched for the European elections in 2019. And among the many activities that we do to familiarize the youth with the European Union, because a lot of times the youth doesn't know what the European Union does, what the Commission does. Like they have very little information about Europe. So we try to give the information to them, to be the speaker of the European Union policies and all the opportunities that it offers. And also we have a campaign that is promoting sustainability in local areas, which is called Un Árbol por Europa. In English would be A Tree for Europe. And with this campaign, what we want to do is we're trying to reach all the municipalities in Spain, which you can imagine how many we have. Just like I'm from Navarra, it's in the north of Spain, and only in my region, which is only one province, is almost 300 municipalities. So each of the ambassadors of this campaign is trying to get in contact with these municipalities, with the mayors, and asking them, hey, we are launching this campaign. We have to promote sustainability everywhere. It's not only something that has to be moved through international organizations. Of course, this is an international issue, and it has to be tackled from above or from, we have to arrive to everywhere. But in city halls, there's also a lot of things that can be done. And city halls are the contact point for citizens. It's the closest policy institution that they have, and there's a lot we can promote through city halls. Therefore, with this campaign, what we try to do is to convince the mayors that they have to involve the young people of their cities or their towns, villages. Like, it doesn't matter how small or big they are. They should try to involve them in the policy making, debates, discussions, anything that is related to sustainable or tackling climate change, any issue, any policy that concerns the environment. Young people, we have a lot to say, and we would love to be there. We would love to work together. We are looking forward to be involved in this kind of decision taking. So that's what we are trying to do with Un Árbol por Europa campaign. So far, we have more than 350 municipalities who have signed the agreement. And we have, with this campaign, we also ask municipalities to plant a tree, one or as many as they want. And so far, we have more than 3,500 trees that have been planted in Spain, which is also something that we want to put forward and move on to make people aware that deforestation is also a big issue. And even if maybe in the north of Spain we don't have the same issues that they may be facing in South Spain or in Sub-Sahara or in any other countries, we have to do our fair share. We have to do something to help the others. So what we ask the municipalities is to at least plant 1 tree or more. Like, it's up to them what they can do, because we also understand that a lot of municipalities, they don't have the financial budget to move forward a lot of initiatives or projects, but each of us can do something. It doesn't matter how little it is, we all have something to say here, we all have something to do. And now getting down to the migrant climate migration issue, I could not agree more that yes, indeed, climate-induced migration is more prominent in developing countries, and that the effects of extreme heat and low precipitation seems to uniquely impact countries with a high share of agricultural activities. And there's something that has to be there, but there's a lot of issues concerning here, so it's not only one approach. We have to find a holistic approach to tackle the multidimensional nature of human movement in response to environmental degradation. Of course, the climate change has important implications for migration, like, for instance, drought can degrade livelihood and weaken people's ability to cope with poverty and conflicts. And it is very difficult to develop well-designed policies that address this challenge between the links between climate challenge and migration, because they are very complex. And it's furthermore complicated by the unresolved questions of who is accountable and financially liable for climate change-triggered migration. Nevertheless, complexity is not a reason to avoid tackling the issue. And of course, we must say that the European Union is doing a lot in this concern. Climate action is an integral part of the European Union foreign policy agenda, and the European Union is a top provider of international climate finance to support developing countries in their effort to tackle climate change. The European Union is one of the world's top providers of official development assistance. Just 2 years ago, in 2019, the European Union provided in ODA about 75.2 billion euros, which is a lot of money, and the European Union has also a lot of projects and policies to provide sustainable finance and to promote sustainable finance, because we also have to understand that tackling climate change, it has to be conducted by the means of sustainable finance and long-term goals. It's not something that is going to happen overnight, we all know that, and I really hope that we don't get to see what it was mentioned before, like the small islands covered by the rising sea levels. I really hope we don't see that, and that we can do something before that happens. The European Union also aims to work with all partners to increase climate and environmental resilience to prevent these challenges and from becoming a source of conflict. We also must say that a lot of these migrations, even if they are primarily conducted or prompted because of climate change, political issues are also a big concern, and the governments of these developing countries, they have to do something as well. So it's not only about the European Union giving money and financing others. The European Union also has to build political will and trust to advance global action and ensure the effectiveness of development cooperation, and build capacity to support partner countries in their efforts to tackle climate change and migration issues. We also have to mention that in Africa, the African Union is moving forward the African Free Movement Protocol, because it's also very important that migration, climate-triggered migration, it's also happening nationwide. There's not only cross-border migration, there's a lot of people that they go from the out of the cities, from small villages, they move to cities because they're facing drought and there's not as much rain, so the agriculture is not that it's not that rental anymore, and they look forward to move to the cities to find other kind of jobs, even if it's only temporarily. So there's a lot of things here. There's a lot of things we can discuss. There's a lot of things that have been bring forward to this discussion, to this panel here today. And yet there's so many things involved. So let's see what can we do. It's very complex, this issue, but there's a solution. And we can do something. So yeah, I will say that's my contribution today. Well, there's one last thing I would like to say. The campaign that I mentioned before, Una Voz por Europa, has been actually pre-elected by the Council of Europe to participate in the War for Democracy. Okay, this is a lapsus, I'm sorry. But yeah, like I was very motivated to participate here today, because I was like, we are involved in this panel also, if it's by competing or by presenting our campaign into the selection process. So yeah, thank you very much, and let's see what we can discuss now. What do you think about my contribution?
Thank you, Nerea, and thank you all of you for your contributions and ideas. And in between someone won't speak from the audience, I have a question for the four of you. Is that you have been talking about to be prepared, to knowledge, to have many things to do and to say, and you explain what are you doing in your organizations. But I have a question. Anyone can answer it, please. Is the young people, at least in Europe, prepared to take the power to change the mentality of the people? Because when we talk about climate change and these things, we have to change the mentality of the people, and we need that everyone think about solidarity, cooperation. We need the people more open mind. Do you think that the young people in Europe is ready for that? Solidarity, cooperation. Please feel free to say whatever, any of you, in between the people is asking something.
In my case, personally, I think that, as we all think and said, the young people they have really power to make this change, but it's obviously the change starts with you. It starts with what you do every day, what you do for climate change, and all those policies that you want to bring to Europe or the developing countries. And in fact, we know also that without that, regional and national actors have a key role to play in coping with the problem of environmental change and migration. But however, migration and all climate change policies are something that we can make part of. We can make that activism change and sensibilization and make awareness of our young communities. We have that power, but it starts with as I said, with yourself. It starts with what you. It's not what you write and what information you give. It starts with what I do, what I made, and what I will do and I'm going to do. So I think that besides of the solidarity, we have that power of cooperation to make it more efficient. Maybe not 100% of solidarity, but with 50% we can go forward, a little bit forward.
Okay, I will think the others.
Well, if no one wants to say anything, in my opinion, on one hand, me as a youngster, as part of this generation, I think on one hand we feel that there are so many things we can do, we want to do. And I really feel the message that all the Fridays for Future movement sent, that it's enough, we have to do something. But at the same time, I think it is such a big pressure, it's such a big pressure, like there's so many things, it's such a big responsibility that it shouldn't be on young people. But it is, because we feel that people in charge, world leaders don't do enough, and we really feel that, okay, if they don't do enough, we are going to do enough. So I feel these both sides of the same generation. Also, I read that according to the UN survey, the global survey, more than 80% of youngsters feel that they are not well informed about climate change. They need more information about climate change. So I think there's a lot of factors that affect this, that I think we can do, and we are able to, but at the same time we feel that we don't have the means, and we are not supported enough by people who have the means in itself. I don't know if I made myself clear, but I don't know, just I will let everyone speak. Thank you.
Nerea, Juncal, something to say, or we start with the question from the audience?
I could just add that climate change is not something new. It has been here for a very long time. So, it's not something new. Like, we knew it was happening from a long time ago. But I think now is when it's not reversal anymore. We must act, because that's it. We're going to our own end. And also, I would like to just state that, for example, in the European Parliament, we saw that the Green Party has gained power these last elections. That's because the European youth was aiming to go to elections and vote, and they wanted their vision to be here, to be represented. So I think youth is waking up. That's what I feel like. I think we are waking up, and we are much more open-minded. I'm sorry, but that's what I think. I think we are much open-minded than our older generations. We are here, and we are ready to take action, and we want action, and we want it to be implemented. We don't want to see papers and signatures everywhere. I think we are bored of seeing how many agreements have been signed if there's no implementation, if there's nothing on the field, if these agreements are not taken in to the ground, then what is it for? But I think I'm very positive, and I want to think that change is coming and that we are going to see it now. We just had a European Next Generation EU budget, a lot of money, and 77% is going to be straight for the ecological transition. So I think we have a lot to do now. We have to invest in sustainable development, and that should be aimed to create jobs for jobs. In Spain, we have 40% of unemployment in youth. So we have to link these two issues, and we have to create something with value. We have to create value for our youth, for us. That's what I think. Thank you.
Okay. Andres, I don't know if we have any question from the audience, Andres?
Yes, we have one question related to the role of young people fighting climate change, because they're saying that they would like to know if young people is really informed with this issue, because we are seeing on the television or on the media, for example, the movement Fights for Future, the strikes on Friday that we have seen during these days. But is it are really young people informed with this issue? Because if you are going to ask anyone in the street and you ask, what can you do for climate change? Do you think that there is enough information, or not enough information, because there is enough information for everyone nowadays, but it reaches all these young people.
Okay, I will give a quick answer. So as I said before, I've recently read that according to the UN and the global survey of the UN environmental program, 84% of the surveyed young people said that they don't have enough information about climate change. So to complete this information, in my opinion, I think that there is not enough information about what we can do, how the climate change is really affecting, and what can we do in a global aspect. I mean, what are the other options? I mean, what can companies do? What we can ask for companies and leaders? How can we achieve a transparency? How can we achieve sustainability production? This all I feel that there's no information about the practical views of the practical means of fighting climate change or climate action. And it's not only asking for leaders to do something, it's also trying to how it was called, the European citizen movement. No, it was a way that citizens can ask for a policy to be made, or to ask that companies are more transparent, and yeah, basically that. So I feel like, yeah, there's, as you said, Andres, there's enough information on the internet and everywhere, but it's not reaching the people who need to reach.
More questions, Andres? Any more questions?
No more questions.
And maybe the other, Nerea Juncal, you want to say something about the last question that he did about the information that the young people has about all of these issues? Because I don't think that the young people is really motivated and informed about, okay, the media shows disasters and shows all, you can watch on your smartphone, of course, and the computers, anything in any second. But do you think that the people really think about what happened at the back of the picture, at the back of the film, at the back of the image that the media showed to us? I am not so sure. By example, I asked to Hugo Metz at the beginning when he saw the short video that the difference between to maintain the forest of the biodiversity for the future of the humanity. Do you think that the young people really knows that the biodiversity areas and forests are so much important? I ask for the you fourth. What do you think?
If I may, I would like to say that it's not only the youth, it's also adults, if we may say adults.
Yeah, Nerea, but you said, Nerea, that this generation probably is more open-minded and more prepared with all of this media, the use of the media information and these technologies than the adults, And then that's why I think that the young people, again, is really informed about what happened at the back of the picture or not. Sorry, you said something.
As I said, no, I like you. I like having this conversation with you. As I said on my speech, of the 10-minute speech, I was talking about the issue that people doesn't know about the European Union and what the European Union does. So if they don't know about this, will they know about the climate change or what is being done to tackle climate change? My answer is no. It's no. For people are lazy to go to search the information they want, because nowadays you have too much information. So if you are there with Google where you can access information from everywhere, then you have too much information to know which is real, which is not, which is good quality, which is not good quality information. So we do have another issue there. So, and I think youth, maybe they are more easy to, but just people in general, sometimes they are lazy to look for reasons and arguments and good quality arguments. So they will think the first information they see without stopping and thinking, okay, why is this happening? Or what are the reasons? Or how can we solve this? How can we fight this? But yeah, there's a lot we can do. Like we will also have to start considering how to increase tax for energy, and like companies, we should start taxing companies, because we think that through fiscal policy there's a lot that we can do to tackle climate change. And then me, for example, I will say that maybe, for example, when you go to buy something, as you can see the instructions about what ingredients have been there, maybe there should be also a track of the contamination and the pollution that the products have in their creation. Like, for example, why are you buying some apples that are coming from, I don't know, I'm just like coming up with these examples, but, or why did you buy avocados from Peru if you can buy some local seasonal food that it's going to feed you the same? Like, of course we have our preferences and we have our choices, and if you want to buy avocados from Peru, you have the right to do it, but at least be conscious of the pollution that it's behind. Okay. Yeah, there's so many things we can bring here and I'm so ready to talk to you about this.
Sivani, Nerea will talk. Sivani, Sarah, any comments about that before one more question?
Yes, Sarah, you go.
Okay, I wanted to make a point about what you Javier said and Giovanni. Giovanni said that we have too much, maybe too much pressure about this topic, but yeah, we have that pressure that it's sometimes not enough, because we don't have to forget that we are the next generation, we are the next adults. So yeah, maybe we are one of us are the next boss of an company that we make policies that are according to climate change factors. So and another thing, it's I think most of young people have the case to be aware and to be informed about climate change, but we are used to, we see too many things about this. We are to all the days we have news about climate change, we have news about all the topics like wars and conflicts, but we are used to this. We are saying that it's not it's far from what we are living now. Like it's not concerning us. Like it's not for now. It's maybe for the future, for tomorrow, but not now. So this is one of the points I think that makes us let this topic so I don't know how to say, but to not really work on it. So yeah, maybe we have to make that awareness more attractive and more and give more information to those who gonna be the next adults from this generation. So it's not a work for it's a really an efficient work, not just something that we do because we do. It's really something that it can make results.
Sivani, you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to make a mention to what Nerea said about the fiscal policies, because I really agree that it's really sad, but companies or lobbies just react when money is touched, when their money is touched. So it's really sad. It's really sad. But yeah, I think that's something we can do. Like when I say we, I say in general, like the leaders and everyone, because for example, it just came to my mind recently in the European Union situation when I think it was Hungary and Poland, maybe, or just Hungary, they refused to imply the new to imply the new 55% of reduction of carbon dioxide emissions or something like that. So the Commission had to pressure them and say, okay, if you don't want to imply this, I think it was something like that. Don't trust me, but it was something like that. So if you don't want to imply this, you can't you won't have the complete portion of your next generation EU fund, and then they acceded to apply these new policies, these new environmental policies. So yeah, that's one example of how leaders and how they react on when they touch your money. So yeah, I agree with Nerea about the fiscal situation. So yep, just wanted to say that.
Andres, maybe a last question before the break.
The audience also asked that they were referring to Nerea's speech about the avocados and the transport of that food, and they were saying that all around the world there are a lot of travelings, and nowadays with the pandemic that has changed. For example, local markets have been boosted, and all the dynamics have been changing. Also, although they are staying the same more or less, but they are changing with the pandemic. So they want to know if the COVID-19 is going to change anything in the way that the climate change is going on. Or how can you see it from your point of view? For example, in Acampa as a youth or organization, or Shivani or Nerea.
I could say something, but I wanted to first give everyone the opportunity.
Thank you, Shivani. I just want to say something. It's short. If you think about this year, it's like look at what snow was in Madrid, for example. The climate change, like the environment of everything, we really have noticed this. And I think it's thanks to, not thanks, but it's related to the pandemic. We have stayed home for a long time, and we didn't make, so the companies didn't really work as much as they used to. So that's something positive from climate change. I from my point of view and from my research, I see it like this. So I don't know what you guys think.
Well, if I may, recently I had the opportunity to investigate a little bit about this, specifically in the Asia and Pacific zone, and what I also in Europe. Anyway, what the Climate Action Organization said about the effects of the pandemic on these carbon dioxide emissions and everything, it said that yes, the provisions it would be better, which means there would be less emissions, and the rising emissions would be less, but it's not enough. It's not enough, and it's a sad way to make this better. It's really sad that we had to experience this to experience a better an improvement of the situation. But yes, I think this is now my opinion, not what I read. We have seen an improvement, and we have seen that suddenly birds were coming back into the cities, and we had all biodiversity coming back to their natural habitat. But I hope that it doesn't go back and we learn from this. And I hope everyone's mindset has changed a little bit so we can keep improving and maybe do something. As Nerea said, there's so many things to do, and we just keep hoping. And right now we can just do that and ask, and I don't know. But yeah, in my opinion, it's a sadly way to improve. But there's have been an improvement, specifically in the carbon emissions aspect.
Just one little thing. We didn't learn from the first wave of the COVID-19. We had a second wave and we have a third wave. Are we going to learn at some point? Like, I'm really wondering. But yeah, I really hope this is going to teach us at some point that we are going to develop like healthier from all these crises that we are going through, and then it's becoming never ending, and that we are very sick of it already. But I don't know, I think we put too much hope on us, and as a society I don't think we are that smart. I'm sorry, but we have to be a bit realistic as well.
Andres, one last question I think that you have from the audience. Andres?
Yeah, we have another question from Tianwan, who says, from your point of view, it would not be much more effective if most of the information in relation to climate change should be carried in the classrooms, since it is the only way that it could effectively reach and inform young people, and especially university students.
For me, yes. My professor, is not, my point of view is not good in that case, but please, what do you think, Sivani, Nerea, Sarah?
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, education it's a powerful tool, and it's something that we all should have the right to it. There's a lot of people that don't even go to school or don't have a quality education in their home countries, so maybe we should first tackle that. But yes, of course, like the more information, the more education someone can have, the better. I hope we all agree on that. So yes, I think it has to be brought to schools. Maybe I will say that maybe it's more appropriate to teach it in a school, because if you grow with that thinking, with that set of mind, then it's inside you. It's something that you have learned from very little. So then you get used to it. So I will propose, or I will say that it will be better to study it in school. Like maybe, I mean, I'm pretty sure we all learn in school how to close the tap when we were brushing our teeth and things like this, or how to take a shower instead of a bath. Very simple things that it's, in the end, it's environmentally related. So I will say that I think it's
sorry, Nerea, you unmuted yourself.
Nerea, the sound.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Don't worry.
Well, I wanted to say that in relation to universities, I will maybe suggest that canteens are something that they have to improve a lot in canteens. There's so much plastic, maybe now in regards to COVID-19, there's even more plastic and things that are only one use. So I think maybe in universities the focus should be put into canteens, or maybe use of paper, things like this, like promoting students to not drive to university but taking public transport, even though I know how it is Madrid. I know that it can take you 1 hour to go to university depending where you're living, and it can be a nightmare. Yeah, I know if any of you have a better idea or another approach, please.
No, I just wanted to say that I totally agree with you that education is a key, and yes, basically that we specifically is I think it's really important in small children. They take the messages even better than adults. As you said, it's really difficult to change a mindset, and I think that's why all the adults, not all, pardon me, uh, but in general, their mindset is really hard to change, and just you have to prove everything, because they grew in this generation when climate change, it was a thing, but it was something that it was, yeah, it's there. But right now, I think that's why our generation is so touched and so motivated and personally attacked. I really feel in danger, because our generation is really close. Like we are seeing, we're witnesses of everything. So yeah, I think education is a key, and I always say I've learned so many things in the university that I think we should learn even before, even like normal things, but about climate change and all the climate consequences. I think it's really important to to build this conscience, to this human conscience in the children. And just one last thing, I just wanted to refer to the fact that I said, and I think Sara also said, that in climate refugees and refugee and migrants in general, when they don't have proper access to education, they become lost people, lost souls. So I think it's very important to put this mindset into the children in education. Education is the key.
To finish the roundtable, as we start with Hugo Metz. He showed us this short video about why this movement of the Fridays, and about the people and the young people asking for answers. And as I told at the beginning too, today the two roundtables are for the voice of the young people, is your voice. And but the NGO that is Hugo Metz works for is the name is If Not Us, Then Who. This is how I want to finish the roundtable. It's true. If not us, then who is going to work, to fight, to change the planet? No? And then go on, stay and go and stay in your organizations. Still, you have so many years in the future to work for all of us. And thank you so much for come here with us to this roundtable. And now we have a short break of until 6, and we'll start the last roundtable of the web seminar. Thank you, Nerea. Thank you, Sivani. Thank you, Juncal. Thank you, Sara, for your participation. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure.